What's up, guys? Brett Appley here from dailyfanmma.com, back with another UFC Quick Picks here on the Mayo Media Network. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. As always, like the video and comment below who your favorite DraftKings play of the week is. Always interested in reading those. Going to give you my favorite cash game play, tournament play, salary play, and my fade of the week for this week's UFC Vegas Fight Night 36, whatever it's called. Derek Brunson versus Darren Till in the main event. There is only 10 fights this week, so it should be a fun card, but it's tough from a DraftKings perspective because there's just less options to choose from just for you, and there's less options for everyone to choose from. So we're going to see inflated ownerships this week. It's going to be harder to be unique. So if you are playing large field tournaments, definitely take that into consideration. You can still play the best plays. Just if you're doing that, aim to be a little bit unique elsewhere. Leaving a few $100s in salary or more on the table is always a recommended option, just so if you do hit, you're not tying with, 50, 100, 150, 1,000 people in large field tournaments. But without further ado, let's move into my favorite cash game play of the week. That's going to be Jack Shore up at 9.1K. For my cash game play of the week, Jack Shore at 9.1K. He is currently minus 600 to win against Ludwig Sholinian. Shore is a solid prospect, and I've probably talked about him on this channel before. He's just a really solid, aggressive grappler, and that tends to score well on DraftKings. He's landing 5.52 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he's earned 2 submissions in his 3 UFC bouts. A really good grappler from top position, looks to advanced position, take the back, and is capable of finding those submissions. And not only that, he's a massive favorite. Biggest favorite on the slate by far against Sholinian, who is a tough, I don't want to use the term reject, but he wasn't given an opportunity after the Ultimate Fighter to compete in the UFC, but he's getting a call up on short notice, I believe, here. Shore was supposed to take on Said Nurmagomedov, and then another opponent, and they both pulled out. So, yeah, Sholinian's taking this fight on short notice. He's all right. He's a grappler. He has some wrestling in his game, but I just think Shore's better. The numbers indicative of that. And if you look at Shore's DraftKings history, I mean, he scored 102, 109 in his 2 finishes, and his last decision win, he scored 93 points. So, yeah, maybe he doesn't put up 105. Maybe he's not the highest scoring fighter on this slate. But in cash games, we're looking for the best combination of floor and ceiling, and I just think Shore is far and away the best fighter in that regard. Even at 9.1K, normally a minus 600 favorite would be 9.5K or higher. 9.1K, I'm definitely willing to pay that price for a minus 600 favorite, and he's plus 110 to win inside the distance, so a strong chance of finishing as well. If he wins at all, it's going to come from grappling. You got takedowns, control, non-significant strikes, significant strikes, and a finish, and some finishing equity as well. So Shore extremely safe in this matchup. I expect another grappling heavy game plan. I'm expecting him to come through with a victory and put up one of the safest and best scores on the slate. So Jack Shore is my cash game play of the week at 9.1K. Moving on to my tournament play of the week, I'm going to give out Paddy Pimblett at 8.3K, and I want to preface this by saying I'm not that high on Pimblett as a prospect. And for those of you who don't know who Pimblett is, he's a Cage Warriors champion, and he's making his UFC debut on Saturday against Luigi Vendramini. He's very, very, very hyped up, and he's a brash, exciting individual. He's going to get a lot of attention from the media. You're going to know who he is sooner or later. 16-3 professionally at age 26, and he's a strong grappler, and he's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's very crafty at taking the back. The same type of fighter that I always love to target. However, I don't think he's as good as the public might perceive him to be. I'm pretty sure like sharps I'll use that term in quotations, are not that high on this guy for his long-term potential, but the public certainly will be to a degree, and he has some skills. I don't want to discredit him, but we've already seen him lose a couple decisions in recent years, like against Nad Narimani, Soren Bach, and he's a good wrestler, but he's not a great wrestler. And when your strength is submission grappling, if you can't get the fight on the mat, it's sometimes difficult to win. And when you're coming into the UFC in the lightweight division, good luck climbing that ladder if you're not an elite wrestler. And I just don't think Pimblett is. I think he's capable of wiping away lower tier competition. He's capable of mixing it up on the ground, but he just doesn't have a dominating enough wrestling game to get actual very good wrestlers to the ground. So that's going to be a problem for him. And on the feet, he's kind of, he's a willing striker, but somewhat of a defensive liability, I would say. So I definitely can understand looking at Pimblett in the spot and even still saying, yeah, he's overhyped, I'm not interested. But for me, I'm kind of pushing away that noise for now. And just looking at the price, he's 8.3K. Like it or not, he's a minus 155 favorite. And he has a grappling dependent game. And he's going to try and take you down as often as possible, take your back, and submit you. And he's plus 168 to win inside the distance. That's not the best line in the world, but it's pretty good for 8.3K, especially when, the fighter priced right below Pimblett is Ji-Yeon Kim and Molly McCann. So this to me is less about hyping up a prospect in Pimblett and more about targeting a grappling-dependent fighter in this mid-range. As I've said many, many times, grappling just scores so well on DraftKings. You're able to exceed your price value much more often than not if you can earn a win. And do I think it's a lock that Pimblett wins this fight? Absolutely not. But for tournaments, who cares? I'm willing to take the risk. Again, he's only minus 155 to win, so north of 60% implied to win. Decent inside distance line at plus 168. So if he's taking Vendramini down at all, he probably will have chances to win this fight by submission. Vendramini has some skill on the ground, but he's largely untested, I would say, and hasn't really proven himself. And he's been knocked out in the UFC already. He just lost a decision to Fares Ziam, so I don't think he's a talent either. I think Pimblett's going to have some opportunities here. Maybe it's a competitive fight, but his grappling based style gives him a high floor and ceiling. And I am definitely willing to pull the trigger on Pimblett in tournaments at 8.3K for those reasons. Moving on to my salary play of the week. This one, I'm struggling to get the words out of my mouth even, but I'm going to go with Julian Erosa at 7.3K against Charles Jourdain. I'm not the biggest fan of Erosa. He has a terrible chin, and we've seen him knocked out a bunch of times. Even in his last fight, he was knocked out in a minute and a half. So I think the downside for Erosa is getting clocked early and put unconscious, and that's that, and you're going to get 0 points. So I'm not entering this analysis by thinking like he's a lock by any stretch, that he's a great fighter. But when he stays conscious, he's not bad, and he's very experienced. He can fight at a high pace. He has some striking. He has some grappling, and he fought a competitive fight with Jamal Emmers and won, and he fought a couple competitive rounds with Julio Arce before he got knocked out. He beat Sean Woodson over 3 rounds. That was very impressive. He knocked out Nate Landwehr, and Jourdain is still a young prospect, and he's coming off a good win against Marcelo Rojo, but he was losing that fight early on, and he kind of came back and earned 2 knockdowns in round 3. And even prior to that, he earned a draw as a massive favorite against Josh Kulibau. And I just don't know if his process game is there enough for me to feel confident in Jourdain if he doesn't just blow through Erosa. Bottom line, if this fight plays out for any length of time, I think it's going to be competitive, and I think Erosa might even be winning. Arosa is going to be significantly bigger than Jordan. I see 4-inch height advantage, 5-inch reach advantage. Arosa lands 5.1 significant strikes per minute. He can compete with Jordan on the feet. Arosa lands 1.29 takedowns per 15 minutes. He says he's going to come in here with a wrestling-based game plan. And Jordan's only defending takedowns at 47%. So, Arosa's going to be able to have success on the feet and on the ground. It's, to me, really about can he stay conscious. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets knocked out. He's plus 155 to win, so he's an underdog for a reason. However, at 7.3K, I don't think people are going to be flocking to him. Derek Brunson's going to be more popular right above him. David Zavada is going to be more popular right above him. At 7.3K, he's one of the cheapest fighters on the slate in a matchup that I think is very winnable for him. Skill for skill, and we need to save salary somewhere, and we need to be unique somewhere. I am interested in Arosa in this matchup because I think he can be competitive skill for skill. Plus 155 is not even that big of an underdog, especially when you're comparing Sholinian at plus 400, who's only $200 less expensive. So I like this matchup overall. I think it's going to take place at a high pace. I think Jordan's a fine tournament option at 8.9K for a knockout, but I am interested in Arosa at 7.3K for salary saving purposes, and I'm going to look to be slightly overweight to the field on him this week. Moving on to my fade of the week, and it's going to be Ji Yeon Kim at 8.2K, and it's tough. It really is tough with 10 fights because I don't think, in theory, no fighter is a fade. You can consider every fighter on the slate, especially for ownership purposes, and Kim's going to be one of the lowest owned fighters on this entire slate, I think. But it's for a reason. It's because she just doesn't carry that much upside at 8.2K. She has a knockout win that did score her big, but otherwise her two decision wins, she scored 68 points and 57 points, and she's about a pick'em here. I see minus 107 in some spots, minus 112. So about a pick'em against Molly McCann. And McCann has given up some DraftKings points, but she's given them up to fighters who wrestle. Kim has never landed a takedown in the UFC in 6 career fights, and so it's hard to project her for any wrestling in this matchup. She's also got, I think, the worst inside distance line on the entire slate, maybe outside of Sholinian, at plus 570, so absolutely no reason to believe she has any real shot to finish. So if I'm projecting a striking-based decision for Kim, which I think is very, very possible, it just still doesn't give her enough upside in tournaments. Maybe 70, 75 points is reasonable for Kim in a victory, but at 8.2K on this slate, I'm looking for 90 or more. I just don't see it. I'd pretty much rather play every single fighter priced above Kim and the majority of fighters priced below Kim, just based on her number, based on her upside, based on her finishing equity. So no fighter is truly a fade on this slate. However, if I'm picking one to just cross off my list, it's going to be Kim at 8.2K. All right, guys, that's going to do it for another UFC Quick Picks. Thank you so much for the support. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at BrettAppley, TTPP, dailyfanmma.com for all your DraftKings breakdowns needs. We got everything up right now, projections, rankings, is still to come, betting content, podcast coming out on Thursday night as well. So cheers. Thanks again. Thanks to Pat and the team for having us on. Best of luck in your contest, guys. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.